Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm very happy to have you guys here. In today's video I want to try out 4 fragrances from the house of AHMED Al Maghribi. I have here one that's a newer release. I feel like it was released just recently, just like a few months ago. And I have 3 other fragrances that are from their more old collections. Some of the samples I've had for ages, honestly. But yeah, I want to try them out today. I want to let you know how they smell like, if I would overall recommend them to you, who would enjoy this kind of fragrances, if they remind me of other fragrances from the brand, if it's a dupe, if it's an original creation. So yes. Okay, so let me tell you the fragrances that I want to try out today. Today I want to try out a fragrance called Instance. This is a dupe to Idole from Lancome. I want to share my thoughts on a fragrance called Glory. That's from the same collection with a fragrance that I love how it smells. The fragrance is called Pearl Oud. That is a beautiful creamy buttery tuberose with a slightly animalic barnyard leaning wood. That fragrance is amazing and very unique, very unique. I also want to share my thoughts on a fragrance called Miski, and last but not least I want to let you know how I feel about Rose Crush. So yes, you guys, let's start with the lighter fragrances and then I will move on to the heavier ones. Now let's start with Miski, you guys. I will insert the note somewhere over here. Look, this fragrance is a little bit tricky for me personally. And I will let you know why. So, on one hand, this fragrance is constructed around a beautiful summery fruity accord. To me, this smells something like melon. I don't know why it smells like melon, red melon, yellow melon, you know, that type of fruity accord. Very uplifting, very bubbly, very happy, very mouth-watering in a sense. So I have this fruity accord on one hand with a little bit of vanilla in the background, but I feel like mainly in the opening, the fruity accord leans slightly more aquatic in a sense, but not for too long. And you also have this very contrasting facet to the fruity accord. You have this aldehydic accord, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, that I really pick up, you guys. And what that aldehydic accord, or like what it adds to the fragrance, to my nose, it adds this very interesting, like soapy, vintagey, powdery aura, let's just say. Not powdery like your powdery musk or like your powdery rose or like your makeup-y type of powder in a more vintagey style, you know, like soapy powdery, that type of effect. And here is where it leaves me a little bit like, I don't know what to feel about this fragrance, because on one hand, the fruity accord is very beautiful. Like I've said, it's your typical like happy, bubbly, uplifting. Like it's that kind of fruity accord that you would rock in summer, you know, like your grab and go kind of fragrance. Smells very feminine, smells very happy, smells very uplifting, that type of energy. And the fruity accord is really beautifully represented here. I feel like I've said, you guys, you have the smell of, think like, not like a lemonade, but like think watermelon juice, melon juice, somewhat of a smoothie, you know, perhaps with a little bit of lemon there. The fruity accord here, like the way they did the fruity accord here, it reminds me a little bit of the fruity accord in Marine. Yeah, I think Marine, yeah. However, in Marine, the fruity accord, I feel like it's even more full-bodied in a sense, meaning that it's also paired with some citruses there, some like sweet citruses. You also have this almost like the fruity nuances there, they feel so ripe that they almost feel a little bit sugary, you know. Of course, with the vanilla there, with the musk, it's a beautiful, that fragrance to me is like a tropical, like summer in a bottle type of fragrance. Now, this one, I think they wanted to create something a little bit more outside of the box, or like, look, the thing is, the fruity accord per se, I don't mind it. Like I've said, it smells very beautiful. It reminds me of Marine. My problem, you guys, is with the aldehydic nuances in the background, because I'm not very used to like powdery, soapy, vintagey fragrances. So maybe because I'm not used to these kind of fragrances, maybe this is why I pick up this nuance so much. But I'm telling you, whenever I smell it, first I get the fruity accord, that starts to get even rounder, even fuller, starts to lose that slight aquatic facet, and it goes more full-bodied because now the vanilla also starts to shine a little bit. That adds slight sweetness, slight roundness, and overall it adds this full effect to the fragrance. As I'm smelling this fragrance, right after I smell the fruity nuances, it's the aldehydic nuances in the background that are quite present. I don't know, again, maybe it's just to my nose that they are so present because I'm not used to this kind of fragrances, or let's just say I'm not used to these types of nuances in fragrances, because clearly my comfort zone is a very different direction. I mean, it's not bad, you know. Here, for instance, when I smell it from here, the fruity accord feels even more aquatic, even more, it legit feels dewy a little bit. Like when I'm smelling it from here, this could be like a distant cousin to Juicy Aaron Apple from Kayali, but that one is made around apple. Here you have some like red fruits in the opening. It's very interesting because when I smell it from here, it smells like red fruits, like crisp, slightly sweet, slightly tangy red fruits, but very, also slightly effervescent in a sense. But when I smell it on paper and when I smell it on my skin, the fruity accord goes more full, goes more round in a sense, goes more melon-like. So yeah, those were my thoughts about this fragrance. I feel like as a reference, I don't think this is the first fragrance that I would recommend you to try from the house. I genuinely feel like there are others that, at least for me, they shined way more than this one. And also as a reference, if you're looking to try something more fruity, like a summery fruity fragrance, even like spring perhaps, spring fruity fragrance, start with Marine. That I prefer to this, but this I feel like it's more unique as a reference. So let's move on. The next one, I think I actually want to apply it on my skin. Let's move on to Instance. Now Instance is a fragrance. I feel like they recently released this fragrance and you have it in the new collection. It's like a beautifully heart-shaped bottle almost. You have two. You have Instance and you have Pure Wonder. I haven't tried Pure Wonder, but let me just tell you something about Instance. Even though it does look like a more, I mean, like if you were to judge it based on the bottle, I will insert a photo with the bottle. It does look more like girly, more like youthful, perhaps a little bit youthful, you know, perhaps a bit juvenile, you know, but the scent itself is not juvenile, you guys. I feel like the fragrance itself smells very timeless, very sophisticated and very feminine. So this one I actually want to apply it on my skin, and this, you guys, judging it based on the notes, just on the note, this is I think like 101 almost to Idole from Lancome. So I think this is their take on Idole. Yeah, this opens up, you guys, this opens up with the most beautiful, like slightly juicy but not very sweet, more like dewy and aquatic pear accord with rose, but the rose here, it's your young rose, like your young garden like rose, you know. It does have a little bit of sweetness. Think like if you were to dip your nose into like a pink rose bush, if you were to dip your nose and you were to smell the petals, that natural rosy like sweetness, but nothing over the top. This is not a gourmand rose. This rose accord, it feels very floral per se, you know, even though it does have a little bit of sweetness. Now you have these two nuances and something that smells a little bit like a zingy lemonade in the background. It's almost like the citrusy aspect of the fragrance. It's like an undertone to the rose accord, if you know what I mean. Yes, slightly citrusy, slightly rosy and sweet, but it feels quite fresh. It feels quite bright, not fresh in a shower gel fresh. It feels fresh in a sense that it feels very, almost like a little bit clean, but not your crisp, clean kind of fragrance. It feels bright, it feels light, it feels like effortless in a way, you know. It feels like a chilly morning in your garden, you know, as like the sun is starting to come out. Now, as this one starts to develop on your skin, you do start to detect a little bit of something slightly powdery, musky type of nuance. And honestly, I feel like that when I was like, oh, okay, so this will go into the typical designer-like fragrances, you know, like your rosy, musky, citrusy, floral type of scent. But I was actually surprised, you guys, because right as the musky nuance starts to develop more, let's just say, and that citrusy accord starts to tone down and move into the background, I feel like that's when you get more of that vanilla. And I feel like what the vanilla and the pear together add to this fragrance, it makes the pear feel very, like I've said, if in the opening it was more like your slightly juicy, slightly dewy, aquatic pear accord, now it feels like a very dense, creamy, almost full-bodied pear accord because of the sweetness that comes from the vanilla. So you start to get almost this gourmand element to the fragrance, but again, gourmand in a very tasteful manner. This fragrance never really goes fully gourmand or fully floral or fully citrusy or fully musky, let's say. I feel like the element that makes this fragrance stand out to me is its simplicity and is the fact that it stays balanced all throughout. I feel like even as you start to get the pear that gets a little bit more sweet, like I've said, because of the vanilla. You still have that musky nuance that cuts a little bit from the sweetness, and you still have that rosy element to the fragrance that overall I feel like it accentuates the floral aspect of the fragrance, you know, so it's always balanced. The fruity never, like the fruity accord never gets to overshine the other notes, the rose accord doesn't get to overshine the other notes, and I feel like this aspect makes it very versatile, it makes it very wearable, very easy to enjoy, like your typical grab and go type of fragrance, daytime, nighttime, signature worthy type of fragrance. Now look, signature worthy, not for someone like me and for my taste, but if you love fragrances like Joy from Dior, Miss Dior, what else? Everything from Versace, you know, like Bright Crystal, the yellow one, these kind of fragrances, like you're effortlessly elegant, feminine, slightly sophisticated, but again, it doesn't feel like you're trying too hard, you know, it feels very like I've said, you guys, it feels very effortless. This is the vibe that this scent gives me. Even though I can't say that it's my style when it comes to fragrances, I prefer slightly different scent families on me, but you know, if I were to receive this one as a gift, I would wear it, honestly. It's like a no-brainer kind of fragrance, you know, but not that no-brainer kind of fragrance in the sense that it smells like nondescript, or it smells like you just entered the perfumery and you have all those notes combined. It smells, like I've said, feminine, elegant, effortless, with a slight sophisticated touch. It smells timeless, but not timeless in a sense that it smells mature per se, you know, or that it smells, yeah, mature. No, timeless in the sense that it smells like a timeless classic beauty, something like this, you know. Let's move on to Glory. Now, you guys, in all honesty, I had this sample for a long time in my collection, but I was never really a fan of this fragrance. I don't know why. I mean, I know why. It reminded me of a fragrance that I blind bought from the brand and that unfortunately didn't do much to me. Not that the fragrance itself is bad, it just, I didn't resonate with it. You know, I've mentioned, by the way, I have a buying guide for the house. So if you're interested in any fragrances from the house, not in these ones, because these ones I haven't done like a review or anything. This is, I feel like, the first time I mentioned them here on my channel, but please watch this buying guide. I go in depth about the brand, what makes them stand out, what fragrances I would recommend from them if you are looking for something like more like your French style of fragrances, or if you're looking for something very heavy, very opulent, very royal, like your Middle Eastern like fragrances. So definitely watch that video. I really go in depth there. But yeah, this fragrance, I don't know why, never did too much for me, honestly, but I know people who love it. So yeah, don't just take my word, you guys. Like, honestly, now, don't just take my word in any of the fragrances. I tasted it. See? Yeah, don't take my word in any of the fragrances, like just my word, you know, because as much as I try to be objective, because I feel like when I review a fragrance, I have to be objective, you know. Of course, I can tell you if I would wear it myself or if I resonate with it myself, but like, when I review the fragrance, like the standalone fragrance, I have to be objective, you know, because I cannot review a fragrance through the lens of what I like versus what I don't like, you know, because fragrances go way beyond just my taste in fragrances, you know, and the world of fragrances is so vast and so beautiful and so complex and diverse that I feel like I would lose a lot if I were to judge fragrances based on what I like and what I don't like, you know, and like, I feel like the purpose of a review is to be objective. Now, from an objective perspective, this fragrance is not bad. This is from the same collection with Pearl Oud, like I've mentioned, the beautiful bottles. Now look, truth is, why I feel like I don't really resonate with the fragrance, or maybe I should tell you first how it smells like and why I don't resonate so that I don't influence you. Okay, so how this one smells like in the opening. It smells like gummy bears. Not overly sweet, but you know, it legit smells like gummy bears, like if you were to open a package of like Haribo gummy bears, but think nothing like forest berry fruity or anything like this, more like apple flavored gummy bears, citrusy flavored gummy bears, pear flavored gummy bears, those kind of gummy bears. Very legit in the opening, it smells like you were to open a packet of gummy bears. Yeah. It's slightly sweet, but that gummy bear airy type of sweetness, you know. This fragrance, you know, it has the same translucency in a sense as other fragrances inspired by Baccarat Rouge, but this is not in the same scent family as Baccarat Rouge, but it has the same level of translucency, that like saffrony, translucent, you know, aura. Yeah, now as this one starts to develop, by the way, let me just show you how oily this fragrance is as well. I hope you can see. Extremely oily, you guys, extremely oily. This legit, I just did one spray, but it's almost like if I were to touch it, you know what, I will just show you. I hope you can see. I have touched the fragrance and can you see the level of oiliness it has left on my fingers? It's extremely oily, so be careful. Now, yeah, is this very interesting, like airy, sweet, gummy bear-like nuances with something like slightly citrusy almost. And it smells clean without smelling clean. It smells more like airy, but at the same time slightly oily. It has that translucency that Baccarat Rouge like fragrances have, you know, but think gummy bear style. Now, honestly, as I'm smelling it now, I can say that it's bad, you know. I mean, think if you have tried this fragrance from the house, or I don't know why it reminds me a little bit of Sensual Instinct, but only of the, you know how in that fragrance I said that you have there like sweet and sour candies? Now imagine here you have slightly sweet, slightly sour gummy bears, you know, so the overall flavor is a little bit more muted, but it's still present. This is something that I've noticed about this fragrance, that it has this almost like muted quality about it, you know. It has, even though it's rich and it's heavy and it's strong, but at the same time it's almost like all the notes are covered in a slightly clean oily coating, something like this, you know. I definitely get the saffron, I definitely get the gummy bear vibe. Again, that translucency that I've mentioned, the softest woodsy like nuance, maybe a hint of something floral there. A little bit green, a little bit, the thing is, I feel like this fragrance smells better when you don't smell it, like when you don't like keep smelling it and smelling it and smelling it. I feel like it smells the best either in the sillage, either when you just go like this, you know, like, and that's it, you know. But when you smell it more and more, like, I start to get something that smells a little bit rubbery. I don't know where it comes from, but I start to get something that smells a little bit rubbery. And also, the more I smell it, I start to detect this very interesting accord that to me smells a little bit off. I don't know why, like inky, rubbery. But like I've said, you know, when I smell it in the sillage, I don't get this nuance. Just when I start to really smell it for like, I don't know, like really long periods of time, I feel like. It has a very interesting quality in the sense that the notes themselves are subtle. Like each particular facet of the note is subtle, but the fragrance itself, it's heavy, if you can imagine this, you know. It's almost like, think Amber Rhythm from Afnan, it has a similar effect, you know. The notes themselves, some of them are a little bit more muted in the sense that they don't scream, but the fragrance itself is very heavy, it's very projecting, it definitely fills up rooms. You have the same effect here. But look, honestly, as I'm smelling it now, I can say that it's bad because it's not. So let's move on now to the last fragrance for today's video, and that fragrance is called Rose Crush. Now, the notes for Rose Crush are very, I don't know, like if you were to look at the notes, you would expect a fragrance that smells very different to the way this fragrance smells. Like, at least I expected a totally different fragrance. Yeah, again, this has a beautiful, like subtle muted element to it in the sense that it's not one of those fragrances, it's definitely nothing like Bin Sheikh, you know, like Alpha, like what other fragrances, like Marge, is definitely not like those really heavy, heady, opulent fragrances. Even though, like I've mentioned, if you were to look based on the notes of this fragrance, this might seem like a heavier fragrance, but it has that like muted, subtle element. Yeah, so let me spray this fragrance. Now, this fragrance, the opening is not the best, honestly. Like, give it a few minutes, I feel like, until it starts to open up a little bit on your skin or on paper. This is made around a suede accord. The suede accord is the one that you will get the most all throughout the development of the fragrance, I feel like, but it's not your funky, skanky type of leather or suede accord. I feel like this is a very easy beginner-friendly, this is a very beginner-friendly suede accord, in a sense that to me the suede here feels slightly fuzzy but very dry, you know. It's almost like you have this very easy to enjoy, slightly suede-like accord with something like a bright, dry, woodsy nuance in the background. You were to mix these two, and this is the suede accord that I detect here. Yeah, very easy to enjoy, very bright, you know. I feel like it doesn't add lots of darkness to the fragrance, it just adds a little bit of complexity, and it contributes to the slight density of the fragrance, you know. It creates somewhat of a layered element to the fragrance, you know, so it doesn't feel flat. But yeah, you will get the dry suede the most, I feel like. And also some notes that add different types of sweet facets. On one hand, I detect something that smells like strawberries. I don't know why, to me smells like strawberries. So you also get this slight sweet strawberry-like nuance, and with something slightly creamy, slightly round and vanillic. But keep in mind, I feel like first you get the dryness of the suede with a slight woodsy nuance, and in the background you get the sweeter leaning accords, let's say, you know. And also I feel like deep in the background you get a hint of something incensey there. I feel like it just contributes to the overall dry texture of the fragrance. The texture of this fragrance, like I've said, it feels very dry. Yes, it's a heavy fragrance in a sense that you get different facets here. It's not one of those like light and bright and breezy and your skin but better kind of fragrances. It's on the heavier side. It's very textured, like it's very like multifaceted, but at the same time it's something very interesting that I've noticed is the fact that it has this almost like muted element to it, you know. Each particular note feels, in a sense, more on the muted spectrum, let's say, you know. Yeah, so it feels almost, I don't want to say molecular because it doesn't feel like amber rhythm from AHMED, but it feels muted. Yeah, I feel like muted is the best word. So yeah, this is legit how the fragrance smells like. I feel like as it develops, the fragrance doesn't change crazy, you know, like what I feel like it happens, like the suede accord goes even more pronounced, let's say, you get even more of that dryness, that suede-like smell, but again, nothing barnyard, you know, it's a very beginner-friendly suede accord, and the sweet notes start to develop even more, and I feel like, again, the incensey undertone of the fragrance starts to develop even more. When I say incensey, don't think like, oh, that's what from Swiss Arabian, you know, it's not that type of incense in fragrances. I feel like it's just a whiff of something incensey, you know, that adds, again, like a little bit of dryness, little bit of complexity to the fragrance, but it doesn't make it go like fully incensey, you know. Like if you're an incense lover, this is not the kind of fragrance I would recommend for an incense lover. Maybe you want to start exploring heavier notes like incense, like suede. This is a good place to start. Yeah, also I feel like you get a little bit of caramel. It's this very interesting combo between some gourmand leaning accords, like a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of caramel, something that smells like strawberries to me, with the heavier nuances, like a little bit of incense, a little bit of a suede accord with a woodsy-like nuance, and also something almost a little bit ambery, but I feel like it contributes to the density, into the richness of the fragrance, but it doesn't contribute much scent-wise, the amber accord I'm talking about, because the overall fragrance feels very dry, like extremely dry. This is something that I've noticed about it. So as you guys, those were my thoughts about their fragrances. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, if you have tried any of the fragrances, please share your thoughts about them down below. I'd love to read your feedback. Let me know if you enjoyed them, what you think about them, if you know their inspirations of any fragrances. I only know of Instance, I think it's called Instance, yeah. There is an inspiration of Idole from Lancome. Now, I can't say that I can compare it to Idole because I don't own it. I don't have it in my collection, but a friend of mine used to wear Idole, so I'm familiar with the smell, but not familiar enough in a sense to tell you, okay, in Idole that note shines more, in this one shines less, or something like this, you know. I feel like the one that's the safest blind buy, even though I don't encourage blind buying, is Instance. For instance, it's Instance from AHMED Al Maghribi, you guys. It's, yeah, you cannot go wrong with something like this, even though the bottle looks more on the juvenile side, let's say, or like on the youthful side. This is a beautiful, timeless statement, elegantly woman-like fragrance, you know. It definitely doesn't smell juvenile in any way, but it neither smells too mature, too this or too that. It's a beautiful, effortless, timeless fragrance, like I've said. Next one, now this one, Miski, I feel like it's a bit more on the challenging side. Like I've mentioned, if you love fruity fragrances, but maybe you are looking for something a little bit different at the same time, why not sample Miski, but sample it. Don't blind buy it, because again, I feel like it can be a love or hate type of fragrance. I don't know, maybe if you pick up more of the aldehydic facet of the fragrance, it might be more challenging to you. Maybe you will not pick it as much as I pick it up, so definitely sample it. By the way, if you're based in the US, I get this question a lot. If you're based in the US, you can find samples of AHMED Al Maghribi's fragrances on Maison d'Orient's website, so I will leave it linked down below. I don't have any discount code, unfortunately, for them, but feel free, you know, they sell samples separately, they have bundles, and it's a great way to start to test their fragrances, and definitely test their fragrances. This is something that I would highly recommend you to do. Don't blind buy. If you have the possibility, try to sample, especially when it comes to fragrances from the house that are On the heavier side, maybe they are more like your Middle Eastern leaning fragrances, definitely sample those. Or even if, for instance, like Miski and Glory and Rose Crush, you know, like objectively, at least for my taste, they are very well done fragrances, nothing to complain there, but for my taste it's not something that I would personally reach for. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, you guys. I love the community we have here. Like the video if you enjoyed it, share it with a friend who's interested in trying out the house, why not. Yeah, don't forget you can follow me on Instagram. I will leave my handle up here. So yes, I will see you in my next video, but until then, thank you so much for watching, and I want to wish you an amazing day wherever you are. Bye guys.